Okay, we're still in number 7.2, verbal bullying. There's an expression, and you've heard it many times: sticks and stones will break my bones, but words cannot harm me. Put that sentence through the lens of the Torah, and let's see, do we agree? Ask the kids, get them to talk. Children, what do you think of this? Sticks and stones will or can break my bones, but words cannot harm me. Is that true? Is that accurate? Is that true? And let's talk about it. One of the kids might know the pasuk in Koheles, Shlomo HaMelech, Hacham Mikol Adam. Which is more lethal? Which is more dangerous? The sword? Hey, you can kill with a sword. Or the tongue? Which is more lethal? Which is more dangerous? Well, the sword can only reach as far as you can reach, as you can thrust the sword. But your tongue, well, the tongue can't reach as far as a sword. I say something nasty about you in the ears of so-and-so who says it to someone else, and it goes around the world on social media, says Shlomo HaMelech, nearly 3,000 years ago. Hachayim v'hamaves biyad halashon. Life and death is in the hand of the tongue. Yeah, the sword can reach so far, but nowhere close to the harm that is possible through the tongue. Oh, so words cannot harm me? No, words can really harm. They can really, really harm. We're going to talk about the resilience and the ability for a child to become strong, and I'm not going to say totally immune to nasty words, but let's understand how that works. We're not up to that yet. We're still mapping the territory. We're in number 2 of number 7.2, in understanding a simple sentence. Sticks and stones can break my bones, but words can't harm me. Well, not according to Shlomo HaMelech. Words can destroy. Words can kill. Words, machlokes, can break families apart. Marriage. Words can destroy a career. Words can cause a politician who, in a moment of anger, said something racial or anti-Semitic, and now has to, or is forced to retract, apologize, or very often resign. Yeah, happens often. A CFO acts in a racial way. He's out. He has to resign probably within 24 hours. You need him for the company. It's so funny. The media celebrate put-downs, and yet they could be oversensitive too, and a person has no room for teshuvah and is out of his job immediately. Well, words can harm. Words do harm. Words will harm. And the Torah wants us to protect our mouths from hurting other people. And that's what Lashon Hara is about. Lashon Hara is when I tell the truth about you, that's not nice about you, that what you said or did that's not right, or good, or is an aveira. But it's not my business to share your mistakes, your frailties, your weaknesses. Lashon Hara, in its core, is about protecting other people from their humanness. Your mistakes are not my business to share with others. And if I do share it, I can cause incredible harm. And so the Torah wants me to protect you and stop those words coming out of my mouth. So words can harm. It's a very serious problem. Honest dvarim, hurting people with words, harms. I can apologize to my wife, to my husband, to my children, to my student, but I shouldn't get in too much of a habit of doing it so often that I apologize frequently, because then I'm losing my own sensitivity to taking their kavod seriously. Because I keep violating their kavod, violating their dignity by hurting them and then apologizing, hurting, apologize, hurting, sorry, hurt, sorry, hurt, sorry, hurt, sorry, hurt. No, you can't keep getting away with that. Eventually, Has v'Shalom can lead to divorce, Has v'Shalom can lead to machlekes. Destruction of communities with words happens all the time. Usurping the authority of other people, and this is brought in Sefer Chinuch. He talks about this in the mitzvah of appointing a Nasi and the Sanhedrin. talks about the importance of respecting authority, which again, the media completely ignores this concept, and in doing so is undermining the fabric of society. Forget whether it's democracy or any form of government. To undermine authority, anti-Trump, and if someone's wearing a pro-Trump cap, he's going to get thrown out or insulted or have eggs thrown. What is this? The nation has voted for a president. How do you undermine authority? How does the Torah look at that? So it's interesting. In the mitzvah of appointing the members of the Sanhedrin and appointing a king, Sefer Chinuch explains in the Tameh mitzvah, in the explanation for reasons behind it, he explains very simple. You have to have one leader at the top, period. The buck stops here. You've got to have one person who has the final decision. Because if you don't create a government structure of chain of command where one person at the top has machriya, he can weigh over and veto, what you're going to have is non-stop machlekes. He even says it even stronger than that. He said, even if that authority, that leader, makes mistakes, it's better that you have a leader who makes mistakes than no leader. So by undermining the authority of your menahel, or the father of the house, or the rav of the shul, or Gedolei Hadar, Rahman al-Islam, or the president of the United States, or the president of the community, or of the school, by undermining the authority of the board. When we do that, I'm so sorry, we are joining Korach. There's really no other way of saying it. Korach, brilliant mind, extraordinary Talmud Chacham, towering giant in Torah, extraordinarily wealthy. He was a cousin to Moshe Rabbeinu. He's one of Bnei Kahas carrying the Aaron. Whoa! And the most valuable of the Kalim, most chashuv of the Kalim of the Mishkan, not enough. Undermines the authority of Moshe Rabbeinu and uses his peh, his mouth, for mockery, leitzanus, undermining the authority of Moshe Rabbeinu, and in doing so, dug his grave, literally, with his mouth. Sucked into the ground, gone. Him and all his family. And everybody who fell into the trap of Lashon Hara, against the Menahel, against the Rebbeim, against the Moras, against the board, against the Rav of the community. And before you know it, Machlekes. The destruction of the Beis HaMikdash. Sinat Chinam. Yeah, it takes place over here and comes out over here. It's all words, it's all bullying. I mean, if you talk about bullying, just look at Kamsa and Bar Kamsa, which Chazal identify as the straw that broke and created the final gzeira for the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash. And what's the story? Mistaken invitation, and Kamsa's begging for, look, I'll pay for my meal. No, get out! Get out of my party! I never invited you. It's a mistake. Get out! I'll pay for all the people here. Get out! I'll pay for half, I'll pay for the whole party. Out. So he's thrown out of the party, but why is he angry? Why is he angry? Why does he come back with a submachine gun and shoot everybody? By telling the Romans. How did he do that? Who's he really angry against? You remember the story. Was he angry against his personal enemy? Or was he angry with the 85%, amongst whom were those rabbis? I'll get them! They sat there and said nothing! Over the cover of I'm at it. I'm going to give them. I'm going to get back. Where does that come from? Oh, the 85% bystanders. Silent. Didn't follow Moshe Rabbeinu. Were afraid to open their mouth. These Ashirim. They support our yeshiva. And before you know it, Chorban Beis HaMikdash destroyed by sinas chinam. And the one story that caps them all is the story of Kamsa and Bar Kamsa, and it's all about bystanders being bullied in public, in front of other people, and those other people not standing up and saying, don't treat him like that. Don't humiliate him like that. He's here now, there's a misunderstanding, let him sit down. He's even offering to pay for his meal, he's offering to pay for he's offering to pay for the whole banquet to save his humiliation. Let him sit down. If 85%, whatever the real number was, stood up, what do you think would have happened? You and I would not be having this, we would not be making this video. We'd be in Yerushalayim already. Beis HaMikdash wouldn't have been destroyed. So put that aside, I'm just bringing out, this is serious stuff. We've got to get real that the use of our mouths, when it comes to machlekes, which comes from sinas chinam, which comes with the package of gaiva and sinner and kinna, kairach gets swallowed up in the ground. And whose side am I going to be on? You need one authority, even if they make mistakes. You remain loyal to the leadership with their mistakes. The Torah, for heaven's sake, the Torah tells us in several places, Perek Dalet in Parshas Vayikra, that the Sanhedrin, the Gedolei HaTorah, 71 giant minds in Torah, that if they ever make a mistake in their psak, which causes Jews to do an aveira, which is chayiv kares, or avodah zara, they'll do avodah zara on the psak of the Sanhedrin by mistake. Yeah, then the Sanhedrin have to bring 12 bulls for a chatais and 12 eilos. Really? For what? Because they have to bring a korban for the mistake they made. But they're still the Sanhedrin. Yeah, the Gedolim can make... No, you remain loyal. They'll fix their problem, but the Torah accommodates for that. But it doesn't accommodate for, don't be like Kairach, the Adasai. Don't be like that. Don't undermine authority. It's a form of bullying. And that bully is playing with his nitzchias, playing with his olam ha'emes, olam haba. Not a good idea. Don't go there. And where does it begin? Us teachers have the responsibility, with the sensitivity and the broadness of understanding the far-reaching ramifications of what bullying really is, locally and globally. Let's be able to help our children in the classroom, in our homes, and create a community of supporters, bystanders who will not stand for bullying. It's out. It's not acceptable. Acceptance, respect for authority. Undermining it is a form of bullying. That's where machlekes comes from. Machlekes has torn us apart. Ad hayom, till today. We're still suffering the same problem because kol dar, every generation, that the Beis HaMikdash is not rebuilt, means the same reasons Chazal, our sages, identified for the cause of the destruction: sinat chinam, machlekes, bystanders, not standing up and pitching in, saying, don't bully this man. He came here by mistake. He did not come here to shtoch you. Yes, he's your enemy, but you gotta, if you're not gonna make shalom, at least don't humiliate him in public. But instead, zero, silence, sat and ate the smorgasbord. Don't do that. Be sensitive. I'm not giving mussar to anybody. It's Chazal. Gemara and Yuma, Daf test. It's Chazal telling us. This is not. I am not in the position to say who's a bully and who's not a bully. I'm not making any specific political references whatsoever. I'm just trying to echo statements that Chazal have told us and putting it under the context of bullying to understand how far-reaching this really is. So, looking at Masechta Peah, Perek Aleph, Halacha Aleph in Yerushalmi, tells us the three worst imaginable aveiros. So bad, I should give my life in order to avoid these three. All the others you have a mitzvah to violate in order to save life, but these three, it's better to die than do these aveiros. Shvichus damim, murder; arayas, adultery or other similar immoral crimes; And number 3, avodah zarah. Those are serious. Avodah zarah, oh, that's idol worship. Yeah, that's adultery with another god instead of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. We're married to Hashem permanently, and it goes and worships another power. There is no other power. So, avodah zarah, adultery, immorality, and shvichus damim, murder. The einish for each of those 3, very serious consequences. But comes along the Gemara in Yerushalmi and tells us that the einish of lashon hara, misuse of my mouth, keneged kulam, is all 3 of those combined. Whoa! Heavy duty! I mean, talk about guilt trip. No. It's not about a guilt trip. It's about reality. The power of the mouth. Words can harm. Period. Sticks and stones, okay, maybe will break my bones, but words will harm. Yeah, they can harm. We're going to talk about the resilience we need to build in our children, but just recognize that there's a part of this statement which is not accurate. It can be accurate, but it's not always accurate, and there's a lot of chazal to back up that no, I'm not free to say what I want, and words can harm. So it's not true. But there is a part of it that is true. What do I mean by that? And we're going to talk about this in much more detail because it's like plan A of how to deal with bullying. And this is really getting to the jugular. This is going right to the jugular. We'll talk about practical hows, but the real how is not in the practicals. It really starts over here. And what do I mean by that? You and I practice every day. Bullying is so big. HaKadosh Baruch Hu made sure that part of the Masorah would be Mipi HaGvura to Moshe Rabbeinu to Yeshua, to the Zkenim, to the Nevi'im, to the Anshe Knesset HaGedolah, all the way down to the Zugim and the Tanoim HaMoraim, the Rishonim Achronim, Ad HaYom. Our davening, it's Gemara Brachas Daf Yud Zayin, but it's part of our davening, that we say, just before we take 3 steps back, we beg HaKadosh Baruch Hu for a number of things. 2 of them, the first 2 are, V'lim kalai nafshi tidaim. To those who insult me, put me down, with words, let me remain silent. Request number 1, in how to respond to bullies. Request number 2, v'nafshi ka'afar lakol tiyeh. Let my soul, my inner essence, be like dust to all those, whoever they are, that put me down, that trample on me, call me names, harm me with lashon hara, motzi shemra, einas dvarim, machlekas. How should I respond? This is plan A. We're going to get to plan B too, but plan A is, I should have the ability to say to the Rebbeinu Shalom every single day, which we do, 3 times a day. That's in a lifetime of doing it somewhere between 60 and 90,000 times, depending on how old you live. How many times we've done Shemon Esrei? 3 times a day. Okay, 4 on Shabbos. V'lim kalei nafshi tidam. Let my soul be silent to all those who curse me. Really? What am I asking the Kodesh Baruch Hu? I should be a shmata? Well, if you haven't answered that question, look at the second part, the second request. V'nafshi, let my soul ka'afal be like dust, lakol tiyah, to anybody who will be, anyone. What am I doing here? Am I asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu I should be a shmata? 1-800 shmata? No, that can't possibly be. This is really the ultimate. What we're really asking Hashem is the following. Let me be so strong, so resilient from the inside out, that no matter what I go through, I have the ability to bounce back. No matter how much I'm trodden on, I'm going to be like Afar. Now, what is Afar? Well, people like walk on Afar and drive on Afar and step on it and spit on it and trample on it. And we're asking Hashem, please let me be like Afar. Yeah, because after the dust has been trampled on and walked on, trodden on, what's left? Afar. Oh, you mean it's still there? Yeah, it's still there. Intact? Yes, intact. You mean unharmed? I mean hurt, not destroyed? Yeah, exactly. We're asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu that my soul, which anyway can't be destroyed, should be that resilient, that strong. That's the real meaning of the request in the end of Shemon Esrei. V'nafshi ka'afa lakol tiyeh. Really. So let's look at the first part. V'lim kalai nafshi tidaim. To all those who curse me, let me be silent. Really? What do you mean by that? Well, it's very simple. It's not complicated. Let me have the inner strength that when someone insults me or hurts me or bullies me, I don't even have to answer back because it just is water off my back. Now, we're going to explain this in much more detail so we understand it very clearly. How do you teach this to children? The plan A is the l'chatchila, the preferred way to respond when people hurt or insult us with words or bully us with words, being a roidef, roid peh, where oppressing us peh with their mouth. How should I respond? I'm asking Hashem, please give me that inner strength. You see, let's put it very simply. Can you cut a hole inside a soul? Can you cut it in half? Can you tear it apart? Can you shoot a bullet through a soul? The neshama, the nefesh. Can you rip it up? No, there's nothing you can do to damage a soul. The soul, your neshama, is pure. And you say every morning, Moedani, and you thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for the neshama shehechazarta bi, that you've returned in me. And then the next thing you're going to say, very soon after, is Elokai neshama. Rebbeinu Shalom, my power, neshama, the soul, shenatata bi, that you have gifted me, yeah, it's a gift, tahirahi, it's pure. It's undamaged. That part of me, no matter what mistakes I make or no matter people say or do to me, doesn't change the fact that I am me. The real me is not my body. The real me is not my clothes. The real me is not my home. The real me is not my family. The real me is not my career. The real me is not my finances. The real me is not my corporate position. The real me is not how much money in my bank account. The real me is none of that. Nowhere even close to it. The real me is not my body. The real me is my mind, my thoughts, which are my soul. That's what our soul is. Ruach is referring to machshava. Rashi brings it several times in Chumash. Kel haruches, says Rashi, yodea machshavos. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, our machshavas are the chelik eloka mimal. Pasuk in Iyov. Many bring it as the raya, the proof that you and I are really a chelik eloka mimal. Perek Lamed Aleph and Iyov, we are part of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. He's in us. How is that in us? The neshama that's in us. What does that mean? It means there's a part of us which is impossible to harm. It can never get damaged. No matter how much you traumatize or torture us for shalom, the real me is untouched. The moment we chap that the true us is the tselem Elokim inside of us, the real us is our thought, and nobody can crawl into my mind and make me be jealous. Jealousy is a thought. And because HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Moshe Rabbeinu, please write the following words in the Aseret HaDibros, in Perek Chaf, in Shemos, Parshas Yisro, and later on in Perek Hey, Parshas Ve'eschanan, where the Aseret HaDibros is repeated. And the first one says Lo Tachmoid, and the second one Lo Tisaveh. Don't make plans in your mind for things that don't belong to you to get for yourself, and don't desire other people's things. Those are mitzvahs of the mind. Yeah, Kadosh Baruch Hu says, if I tell you you can control your mind, your thoughts, that's a compliment that you can control your thought. You see, Hashem is giving you a vote of confidence that you're created, you're designed with such intelligence. You're so brilliant that when we push away the garbage, the fake news, when we push away the fake definitions and get to what's real about us, we're not the shape of our body. We're not our body. We're not our homes. We're not our career. We're not our scorecard. We're for sure not our exam results. I'm not a 65. I'm not a 70. I'm not a 38. That's not the definition of a child. The real me, and this is every one of us, is our thoughts. That is our neshama. Tahirahi. Now I need to ask Hashem and help me to have tahor thoughts, but the etzem me is pure. And therefore, what it really says is the following, and this is what we're going to really get to the crux of. When we say V'lim kalei nafshi tidaim, let my soul be silent to those who curse me, what I really mean by that is let me realize that when I'm hurt by other people's unkind words, curses, machlekas, sinas chinam, nivel peh, leit sanus, lashon hara, moitzi shemra, rechilus, einas dvarim. When I'm hurt by other people, that's a thought. Where do you experience that hurt? In your pinky? Your elbow? Your stomach? Your ears? Your kneecap? You experience that in your mind. Anything that you've been through that was violent and painful in your past can only exist now if you recreate it in your mind. You're pulling out a memory from the memory bank of your brain and playing it now in front of you, and now you can re-experience the pain and the put down. The only way you can re-experience that is by thinking it in the now, because that's the only place you ever exist. You never exist in any other time. We always only exist in the thought that is in the moment. We create our reality thought by thought. You could say moment by moment, but it's really over here. Forget about time. You live in your thoughts. And so for me to experience pain, I have to remind myself and have the thought of pain, and now I will feel it. So what this is really saying is, Rebbeinu Shalom, please let me be so strong inside of me that when the thought comes to me that I'm being bullied, or I have been bullied, I've been pained, or I've been traumatized, well, that was yesterday. Whether yesterday was a year ago, a week ago, an hour ago, a minute ago, a second ago. Who I am is not yesterday. It's not even a second ago, it's who I am now. And who I am now, I can change. Because we're never the same person from thought to thought, from minute to minute. And you are not the same person as you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. You're not the same person 5 weeks ago. You're not the same person 5 days ago. We're changing all the time. Chazal tell us you can change in a second, because yesh kaina elamai b'shachas. In one hirhur of teshuvah, one thought of teshuvah, we change our identity from a Rasha Gomer, Rahman al-Islam, to a Tzaddik Gomer. And that's a siman in Shulchan Aruch. Hariat mikudeshes li al betabazu al menashani Tzaddik Gomer. And you know the guy's a Rasha Gomer. He's a completely wicked person, and he says, I'm only betrothed to you on condition that I'm a completely righteous individual. Mikudeshes. It's a valid marriage. Simon Lamed Ches, I think, and Sif Lamed Aleph in Even Ezer, it's a valid marriage. Why is it a valid marriage? Because Shema, says the Mechaber, perhaps he heard Teshuvah B'libai. He had a thought of Teshuvah, of correcting himself in his mind in that moment. Oh, so we only live from moment to moment. And in that sense, you and I are immune permanently to whatever happens to us. Because whatever happens to us, and however painful it is, one moment later, for me to continue the pain, I have to think about the pain. That's why we're capable of being in a very deep emotion of anger. I hate you when you say that, you make me so mad. Ooh. Hi Mike, how you doing? Yeah. Really? Oh, really? Yeah, 5 minutes from now. Yeah, I'll be right over. Yeah, I'm just in the middle of filming, but I'll be finished. I'm coming right now. Thanks, bye. Now, I could have been in a rage a few seconds ago, and then suddenly I see, oh my gosh, my cell phone ringing. That's Michael. That's the client I've been working on for months to seal that deal. Oh my gosh, you have no idea the commissions I'm getting on a multi-million-dollar deal. This is the biggest deal I've ever had. And this could lead to an account that's rotate. You have no idea what this could lead to. And all of a sudden, one second. How was I so angry a few seconds ago, outraged, and 1 second later, switch in a second to a phone call which is very valuable to me? How do I do that? And the answer is, you feel what you think 100% of your life. You never feel what you feel. It's impossible to experience a feeling that's not coming from thought. So for me to experience the mood, emotion of anger, extreme anger, I have to be thinking extremely angry thoughts about you. And that's why the second I recognize Michael on the phone, whose call is really valuable, because I've been waiting to see if he's going to clinch the deal. And now he's saying, hey, let's meet in 5 minutes and sign the contract. And I'm saying, oh, sure, I'll be there. I'll just finish filming right now. I'm coming right now. But what happened to the anger? And the answer is, it was only a thought. And the emotion is no more than a manifestation of my thought. And the moment my thought went to the next thought, which was noticing Michael's call, the anger dissipated in less than a second and switched to excitement, happiness. anticipation of tremendous benefit from taking this call. The anger could not override, because the anger is not an emotion. It's a thought that we then feel. But it's a thought. The moment I recognize that I am thought, and that we often control our thought or switch it deliberately from one thought to another, and experience how the emotion is switched because of where it really comes from, thought. So when the thought switches, so does the emotion. When that gets recognized, and we're going to talk about how to build that in our children, so that when they are bullied, not if, when they're bullied, what's bullying me? Is it the bully or what I'm thinking? I'm being bullied. That makes me feel vulnerable, weak. I can't stand up for myself. Well, where do those thoughts lead me? The moment we realize and help our kids recognize that if I don't like the thought, and therefore feeling, that's being triggered by my thought, feeling, then I can switch to changing my thought, or just let the next thought appear by not thinking more about being bullied. And eventually can reach a point where, because our emotions, this is not a career in controlling emotions, this is an observation of reality. The moment that observation sinks in, the moment it penetrates, the moment, literally, the instant, that I realize I am thought, and the circumstances and people in those circumstances are not controlling my thoughts. They can't go inside my brain and tell me to feel bullied without my permission. It's impossible. You can't make me feel anything without my permission. So I could easily blame the circumstances and my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, my brother-in-law. I could blame my co-worker. I could blame the kids in the class. I could blame the kids on the playground that are bullying me. But in the end, I only live in my mind. And if I really recognize that my mind, my thought, is what I'm thinking in that moment, and therefore feeling, and I don't like the feeling, then I can let go of the thinking and let it ride the next thought, which may not be, but may often be, a thought that's going to support me, to pick me up, and recognize I can control this. So what could actually be a typical response to bully is, that's your opinion, it's not mine. I'm happy for you, and I'm even more happy for me. And what the bully starts to realize, one second, you're supposed to be a target. You're supposed to show emotional, negative feedback to me that shows me that I hit the target and knocked you down. But you don't look like you're knocked down. You don't even sound like, your whole body language looks like it doesn't mean anything to you when I say these things. So I'll turn up the volume of my bullying, and if I notice then, oh my gosh, you're not bothered by my bullying? Guess what? He'll go search for another target. Now we're going to talk about that in more detail soon. We're going to give 3 very powerful mashalim, 3 powerful metaphors to help a child recognize that the true me is Selam Elokim. The true me is HaKadosh Baruch Hu inside of me. And because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is inside of me, I have innate health. I have the ability, I have the inner strength, defense mechanism all the time to stand up to my own bullying and yours. My own put downs and yours. Because I live over here, I don't live out there. It's a misunderstanding of reality when I think that the world is acting upon me, and it's my parents, and it's my brother-in-law, it's my sister-in-law, and it's my parents-in-law, and it's my background, and it's my teachers, and it's the yeshiva, and it's my co-workers. As long as I keep thinking everything out there controls my happiness or lack of, how can a Kodesh Baruch Hu tell me to be happy? How can he command me to not be jealous? How can he command me not to be angry if the cause of my anger is you? If the cause of my jealousy is your intelligence, your better looks, you're more in control of your, so much more disciplined than me in your taking care of your diet and your exercise program, and I'm jealous of you, and I wish you weren't like that. How can a Kodesh Baruch Hu give me a mitzvah not to be jealous, not to have taiva? How can he give me a mitzvah not to follow my thoughts? The only reason he can give me that mitzvah is because he knows how he made me, programmed me, created me. I was created to only live in the thought that exists in this moment. And therefore he can command me to not be jealous. He can command me to control my mind. He can command me to not have natira, feelings of resentment, thoughts of resentment. He can command me not to want revenge, lo tikaim, because it's a thought, it's not a feeling. The feeling we call revenge, want to get back at others, is the thought I'm thinking. And because it's a thought I'm thinking, it's not the other people that are making me think that, I'm making myself think that. He can tell me to go to the next thought and ignore this one. He can tell me in the same sentence, go to v'avdarecha kamecha. Let go of revenge, let go of natira, let go of begrudging other people, and go straight to love another. Rebbeinu Shalom, how can you tell me in the same sentence, Perek Yud Tes, Pasuk Yud Ches in Vayikra, Parshas Kedoshim, how can you tell me, don't take revenge, don't have negative feelings towards other people, don't hold a grudge in your heart, and then in the same sentence, no, it's not a separate sentence, love your neighbors yourself, give me a break. Rebbeinu Shalom, please, put the first two requests, don't take revenge, and don't have negative thoughts towards others, put that somewhere at the beginning of Bereshis, and then put after Recha Kamoicha, love your neighbors yourself, somewhere near the end of Devarim. Give me room to recover. I can't take revenge. Why you put them all in one sentence? And the answer is a misunderstanding of reality. Revenge is not a feeling. Bearing grudge is not a feeling, they're thoughts. And because one thought doesn't equal the next, because you could choose not to carry on the same thought. HaKadosh Baruch Hu can tell me in the same sentence, don't take revenge, don't bear a grudge, love your neighbor as yourself. And if I say, Rebbeinu Shalom, how am I supposed to do that? His answer is the last two words in the same pasuk, Ani Hashem. I am God. I made you. So I know what I made you of. You're made of thought. And you can change your thought from anger to excitement. You can change your thought from revenge, bearing a grudge, to loving the same person. Because you live in your mind. And because you live in your mind, you can go from one thought to the next. If you don't like the next thought, because it's the same revenge, the same lotito, the same lotikoim, the same lotisna, itachicha bilvavecha. It's the same hatred. Lotitame, don't be jealous. Don't desire other people's possessions. Don't desire their wife, their car, their donkey, their maids, their servants. Don't desire their home. The same way Hashem can say that, He can tell me, love your neighbors yourself. It's not a stira. It's not a problem for Him to put it in the same sentence, because that's what we're made of. We're going to talk about this in much more detail, but the bottom line here is that the more the child shows an emotional response to the bully, the more the bully knows he hit a bullseye. The more the child shows that he's emotionally hurt, it can be by crying or whimpering or looking like almost as though, can't you pity me? You see you're hurting me, don't hurt me, have pity on me. And I'm playing the victim almost with my body language and what I'm telling myself. It's the other way around really. What I'm telling myself is what my body is responding to. So when I look pitiful or close my eyes, he knows he's scored a bullseye. If I whimper, he knows he scored a bullseye against me. If I go like this, it's almost like I'm ignoring you, but really you're hurting me so much. I can't even look in your face. Don't hurt me like this. You scored a bullseye. If I walk away, you scored a bullseye. If I walk away like any sign of emotion is an indication to the bully that he's controlling my emotions and he has power over me. And that's where I've got to get out of my mind that he has any power. No one has power over my mind. The more I let him in, even in the moment, the more he sees, hey, this works, and will be encouraged to continue. So it gets worse, it doesn't get better. There are other ways I can show my facial expression in dead giveaways, like frowning, showing anger, crossing my arms is another like defense, surrender, putting my head down, pretending I'm asleep, or biting my lips. Anything that is an emotional response that shows I've been affected by his bullying, unkind words, sharp words, insults, name calling, the more he's going to be encouraged that he scored against me, that he's overpowering me, he's controlling my emotions. Okay, so that really pretty much covers 7.2. We're now going to enter 7.3, which is the third way of bullying, which is social bullying.